Let me ask you this question. Can you define the term right?
Yes, certainly. A right is a moral concept applicable only in a social context. On a desert island, the question of rights would not arise, even though the question of morality certainly would. On a desert island, a man would need a moral code, a knowledge of what is right or wrong for him to do, as much as he would need it in society. But as to rights, that is a concept which applies strictly to relationships among men. It is a social application of morality. I define a right as follows. Rights are those conditions of existence which are required by man's nature for his proper survival. That is the survival of man qua man, the survival in that form which his nature, as a certain kind of living entity, actually requires. What does man's nature require for his proper survival? First of all, that he use his reason, and that he act on the rational judgment of his own mind. There is no way for him to survive, to provide even his simplest needs without some process of thought. Therefore, when he deals with others, those conditions which are required for the proper survival of man qua man, which doesn't mean mankind, but means every individual man, every member of a particular living species. By his nature, man has to support his own life by his own effort. In order to survive, he has to have the right to his own life. He has to be free to act on his own judgment. Therefore, he has the right to freedom. And in order to decide what goals to pursue, he has to be free to choose his own values and then pursue and achieve these values if he can. That is the right to the pursuit of happiness, which really means a moral right, the right to choose your own values and to work for their achievement. And since man is not a ghost, but an integrated entity which has consciousness and matter, man needs material property. He has to support his life by means of the product of his own effort. Therefore, he has the right of property, the right to work for his own values, for his own survival, and to keep the product, the result of his work. Now, this is the base of rights as I define them, and you can observe that I reject both current fallacies on this issue. Both the idea that rights are the gift of some supernatural power, and simultaneously I reject the modern substitute for the mystical view of rights, namely that the source of rights is social, that rights are privileges or gifts of society. In the second case, not only could one never defend that rights inhere in society, in fact it would be a contradiction in terms. If an individual doesn't possess any rights, there is no way for society to possess them, since society is only a number of other individuals. But more than that, if rights inhere in society, then an individual man exists not by right, but by permission. Since he has no right to life, then society permits him to exist. Therefore, the social source of rights, the theory of the social source, is really total denial of rights, because then man does not act on right, but on permission.
Would you say, Ms. Rand, that government has no rights?
Government as such, none, because after all, government is an institution. Now, the members of government, the officials, are men, and they cannot have any right different from those of every other individual. All rights necessarily have to be universal, in the sense that if they are derived from the necessity and the facts of human nature, they would pertain equally to all men. There is no other way to make the concept of rights tenable or even intelligible. Rights belong to an individual, and since they're derived from his nature, the same rights belong to all individuals. For instance, a businessman does not have a different right to life than, let's say, an artist. Only the form in which they exercise or implement their right to live is different. So in that same way, a government official does not acquire any new rights when he undertakes a certain job. The government has no rights. But in a proper free society, the government is the agent of the citizen, and it has the delegated right to act for the citizens only in very specific issues